Welcome to Mike T.
Mr. Seminya.
Good morning, Chair, Madam Commissioner. We have requested Mr. Makola to come help us, and I see he gladly obliged, just to tidy one aspect of what the city is doing with the visit of the President.
Yes.
With your permission, Chair, I beg leave to call him and also to swear him in.
Yes, you may.
Dr. Makola, give us your full names again.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Tsepo Makola.
You still remain committed to tell the Commission the truth, nothing but the truth, and if you do, please raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
The witness is sworn in.
Thank you, Mr. Seminya. Mr. Sidumedu, your witness.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioner Mabena. Mr. Makola, there's a statement that appears on page, Mr. Makola's statement appears on page 506 of the bundle, Chair.
Blue or the black one? Come again with the page number.
506, Chair.
Five zero
506.
506. I'm there, Chair.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Commissioner Mabena. It's a very last page, Commissioner Mabena. One of the, actually, it should be the last statement in Commissioner Mabena's bundle. Thanks. Mr. Makola, you have heard from the introductory remarks of the evidence that the purpose of today's testimony is about the visit that the President had in Johannesburg, or in Gauteng, but in particular Johannesburg, around 7 March. Do you remember that visit?
Yes, I do, Chair.
I wonder, but it is common cause that the President don't have complimentary remarks about the state of the city of Johannesburg when he visited. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware, Chair.
Yes. We won't delve into detail into that because it is a matter for public record. What is not of public record, which we want to deal with, it is the President's request or directive that a working group of some sort must be set up. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware, Chair.
What is it called?
It is the Presidential Working Group, the Johannesburg Presidential Working Group.
Okay. I see you make mention of that in paragraph 2.5 of your statement. Is that the same working group?
That's correct, Chair.
That appears on page 507 of your statement, am I right?
That's correct, Chair.
All right. Now, can you just at the high level explain to the chair, in terms of paragraph 2.6, how is this presidential working group structured?
Thank you, Chair. So the presidential working group has about 8 work streams, and these work streams are set up to then do implementation across different areas within the city to improve. For as an example, the first working group will focus on the governance, and under governance it will focus on the skills and the capacities that we have within the municipal board entities, but also look at whether these boards are able to direct the 4 big entities to delivering their core mandate across water, electricity, and waste. The second part of that working group is focusing on the financial sustainability, which is meant to look at the city's financial sustainability in terms of collections, reducing the debtors book, but also ensuring that the city is financially viable and liquid. The next working group will then focus on electricity and energy, which is chaired in the main by the CEO of City Power and a number of DGs from national, province, and private stakeholders. Then there is the water and sanitation, which focuses on the provision of providing water, looking at the infrastructure aspect and the water losses challenges. We also have a working group on safety and security with a specific emphasis on bylaw enforcement, which is obviously led by the Chief of Police with support from the National Commissioner and the Provincial Police Commissioner. And we've also requested for support from the NPA. We requested from support from the DTI in terms of dealing with counterfeit goods. There's also Home Affairs that makes part of that, including SARS, will sit in the Safety and Security Commission. Then we have the inner city rejuvenation linked with the township economy or revitalization. So based on post our submission, as we're working with the private office of the president, a number of changes were then made. So the Infrastructure Commission, because infrastructure cuts across all the 4 commissions, we then agreed that we will not have a separate working group that deals with infrastructure, but all the commissions that have infrastructure projects will then deal with infrastructure as a deliverable. As a result, the infrastructure one has changed. We now have clean and safe cities as a working group that looks at the fixing of potholes, making sure that traffic signals are working. But obviously, this also includes work from the private sector. We are working with the banks. The 5, well, initially it was the 4 banks. It's now 5. Capitec has also come on board to participate in the working group because, as you know, Chair, you'd recall we did say part of the infrastructure renewal requires a lot of capital. So hence we're bringing in the banks. We have had a session with DBSA, who are also sitting in the governance and financial sustainability working stream. We also then have the human settlement and social development working group, which obviously looks at the issues of inner city rejuvenation, providing social housing. But the main challenge there, as we said, Chair, is the capital to then develop this social housing. So in the main, those are the 8. In total, you have 8 working groups. We then had a first kick-off meeting, which was chaired by the Director General.
Before you get to the kick-off meeting, Mr. Makola, I just have a note here. I thought there was a 9th one dealing with the cultural institutions.
No, it's 8. So the cultural heritage and institutions was included by the presidency, but it still makes the total 8 because it wasn't in our initial submission. We had proposed the 7 that you are seeing on page 508.
Yes.
But after interactions with the private office of the presidency, they were then amended to 8 to include the inner city and township economy revitalization.
So where does the cultural institution and heritage site fit?
So it's a standalone working group outside of of course, as part of the project, as it were.
All right. Yes, now we're now talking about the sitting of the first sitting of these working groups. Are they called working groups? I know there's a Joburg Presidential Working Group.
Yes.
Is that group divided into what do you call the subgroups? I think.
Yeah. So there are 8 working groups.
Okay.
And in the 8 working groups, we would agree that we'll then establish sub-working groups in those 8 working groups to make sure that we are able to develop key performance indicators that are short-term, that are implementable, because we only have 24 months for the Presidential Johannesburg Working Group. So the support is for 12 months, and the idea is that in 24 months, we should have been able to implement some of the key deliverables. As an example, I can use under the financial sustainability, governance and financial sustainability. 2 key things that we must achieve. One is to ensure that from a political perspective, there is stability, meaning there are no changes within the coalition, because obviously there are also former political leaders who are in that commission. One, to make sure that there's stability, the mayor remains for the remainder of the term, that council is able to do its work for the remainder of the term. Secondly, is that the representation in the municipal-owned entities is governed by skilled professionals, whether it's the CAs in those entities, whether it's engineers in the water boards, including the electricity board, and those. So it's a review of those. Then from a financial side, one is to make sure we collect. At the moment, we are collecting about 4.2 billion on a monthly basis. We want to increase that to 6 billion, but we obviously need to make sure that we're able to collect. So one of the key things is that we need to get our citizens to understand the importance of paying for services, because if you don't pay for services, we are unable to reinvest in the infrastructure. In the electricity is to reduce the losses, and also reduce the vandalism in terms of infrastructure. Those will be sort of the key performance indicators that the team will look at. Similarly with water, the reduction of non-technical losses and the reduction of technical losses in that space, replacement of reservoirs will be those targets. So each working group will then have targets. So that's what the teams are setting up now. Yes. 3 of those working groups have already met. We are having the governance and financial sustainability tomorrow at about 4. Today we have a meeting of the Secretariat at 1400 with the President and the the President's private office to then design the reporting templates and the timelines, because on the 28th of April, we must provide the first report to the President on progress that we have made and the indicators that have been set, so that then in the next month we start with the implementation and monitoring of those key performance indicators.
Yes, I think we have already gone ahead of me in terms of the status under paragraph 4, that the first sitting was on 28th of March.
The 28th of March, yes, Chair.
Correct. And then the persons listed in 4.2, those are the COJ personnel that are assigned to the different working groups.
It's just on page
510.
Yes.
Paragraph 4.2.
Yeah, that's correct, Chair. So the executives that are on 4.2 are the City of Johannesburg executives that have been allocated into the different working groups, supported by DGs at national, yes. DGs at provincial departments, and the private sector.
Yes, that's the part that I want to understand, that 4.2 must not be read as if this is still a city-driven process. Only there's composition from the province and other spheres of government.
Correct.
Yes. So the 4.2 is a list of at least the city of Joburg officials that are assigned to these things.
Yeah.
Now, the last meeting was on the 28th of March. When is the next meeting, and what is that all about?
So the next working group meeting will be on the 28th of April, and we will then be preparing a report for the president in terms of progress work that's been done. So what we've resolved in March was that all the working groups must have met, and they must have then established key performance indicators for each working group, which will then submit that to the president and report back to the president and the entire cabinet in terms of progress that has been made in each of the working groups.
Yes. Now, this process, how does it interface? You recall when you testified early this month or last month, you explained or testified about the programs that the city is embarking upon to change the landscape of Region F and the city as a whole, right? And the impression that you got there was that the resources have been marshaled towards that program and many other programs. Now, how does this particular one now interface with that? And would, yeah.
Chair, I think so. The presidential working group in the main is helping us resolve challenges that we would have had with intervention from or work that is required from national departments. As an example, if you go to Region F, when we did the operation, part of the traders, informal traders, we have a lot of foreign nationals who are part of the informal traders, particularly if you look at the Delvas example that we've made. A lot of those individuals, the informal traders, are in the country illegally, and as the city, we do not have the power or the legislative power to either remove them or deport those. So part of the submissions we've made when we met with the private office was we do require Home Affairs. We also require SAPS because we realize that there's a lot of criminal activity that also takes place in some of these informal traders. So from a safety and security perspective, we did need a reinforcement from SAPS, the intelligence, to help us. So the presidential working group is bringing that resource so that we can see maximum output in a shorter period. Similarly, with the water and electricity space, we did indicate that from a safety and security perspective, we have vandalism of our infrastructure across the city, and we do need the police and the intelligence to drive that operation as well. Then from a bylaw enforcement, we did indicate that we also need support from SAPS. As we enforce our bylaws, we realize that there's a lot of criminality that also takes place, and we do need that support. In terms of infrastructure, as we've stated that the city's financial sustainability is not sufficient at the moment to replace our infrastructure much quicker. So if we focus on the city's collection and we don't get infrastructure funding both from national or from foreign direct investment, it becomes difficult because you can only get that financial resource once you go through national. So this then provides additional support to the programs that we've already been implementing as the city so that we can turn around the city much quicker. Okay. In our session as the executives last week, Monday, when we were reviewing, we were doing a debrief on the operation, we took a decision that we will go back to Region F because the intention was to go to all the regions. But we will go back to Region F for another month, and then because we have this support now from national, so that we can then go back again and reinforce and sustain the operation.
Okay. Last, I know you are saying on the 28th of April, you will be reporting back. Is a report back in a form of documentation or is just a meeting?
Of course, we are going to have a preparatory session. I think the 28th of April, it's a preparatory session. We will have formal reports that we must present to the Minister Cocter, who is the lead, and the President. So there will be a formal report that will be submitted. Each working group will be expected to submit a formal report on the progress that the working group has established, the key performance indicators, and what implementation action needs to be implemented. As an example, if you look at the informal traders. We are looking at increasing capacity to enforce the informal trading bylaw, which in the past the city did not see the need to bring in specialized bylaw enforcement officers within the economic development space. So that's a decision that we've already taken, and I've given the head of human resource to then include a formal structure in the economic development to enforce the trading bylaw in the city.
Yes. One of the reasons why I had asked about the documentary reporting was to see if the commission lifespan, I must not get the date wrong, Chair, but I know it is on the 19th of May, I'll be arguing. So it is in April, we'll still be here to see whether is there any way that some reports can be made, especially those that are focusing on Region F issues, what the Commission has been dealing with. Are there any prospects of some form of report that can be submitted to the Commission, if they are not confidential, of course? That's subject to whatever the confidential arrangements are there with the Presidential Working Group.
Chair, we can certainly raise the request with the Secretariat this afternoon. There's a 1400 meeting. We can certainly raise the request for that report to also be shared with the Commission, and then I think feedback. But I don't think it will be an issue, but we'll certainly make the request this afternoon.
At least insofar as issues pertaining to the mandate of the Commission is concerned. There might be other issues that probably are not part of the Commission, but at least those that are Region F and the prevalence of bed building. As an example, I'm looking at safety and security, inner city rejuvenation and township, the township part of it, but inner city rejuvenation in particular. Of course, human settlement and social development, and cleanup and safe public spaces. That is those 4 ones. If it's possible that it can be made available.
Yeah, Chair, we will make the request, but I do need to emphasize the point that, in fact, all of these commissions do have an impact on Region F in one way or the other. If you look at the parks, the heritage sites that we have and how we want to leverage that, majority of them are in the inner city, and we do want to use those as a lever to obviously stimulate the growth of the economy, including the digital infrastructure that we are working on with the Telkom as a state-owned entity to release the digital economy. So we'll certainly make the request, Chair, and then provide probably that report to the Commission.
Okay. Chair, those are the questions that I had for Mr. Makola.
Thank you, Mr. Sidumedi. Yes, ma'am. What's your surname again?
Dusabe, D-U-S-A-B-E.
Yes, Ms. Dusabe.
Good morning, Chairperson and Commissioner. We have no questions for this witness.
Thank you, Ms. Dusabe. Mr. Semenya.
Perhaps just one question. Dr. Makola, the one problem is accountability where things go awry. You can accept that, right?
That's correct, Chair.
And when they do go south or off the rails, there is no consequence management as a broad statement. Would you permit me to go there?
Well, Chair, I wouldn't say there's no consequence management. I think when we testified earlier, we did demonstrate to the Commission the implementation of the Part 1 report, both from political and the executive level.
What I'm trying to get at is that if a KPI is not realized, it is not followed with any prosecution for that inefficiency. You only prosecute misconduct, am I right?
Well, not necessarily, Chair. So the performance management system in the city does make provision for consequence management, either in the form of training, in the form of formal disciplinary processes and procedures, if you do not achieve the targets that are required. So the system and the process does have those checks and balances to ensure that those targets are achieved. But in relation to the presidential working group, I think that point was re-emphasized, the fact that, and that is why we made the team so small, that should you not be able to implement those indicators, swift action must be taken to ensure that those are achieved. Hence, the short period of the support from the president is that you should not prolong the support so that the accountability remains that of the city and not the president's office.
Well, that's good news because as far as we know, nothing has happened about Usindiso's tragedy. Correct?
No, that's not correct, Chair. As I did report, you'd recall that if from part one, there were two consequence management that one, the mayor had to undertake in relation to the MMCs. I can report, Chair, that I was part and parcel of that, those discussions that we had between the mayor and the MMC Human Settlements, the MMC Public Safety, and the MMC for Environment and Infrastructure, of course, was not listed as the MMCs that the mayor had to deal with. Secondly, was that we wrote letters to the chairpersons of the board, particularly the water, electricity, Johannesburg Property Company, and Pick It Up, for the boards to interact with the reports and take the necessary action. Of course, Chair, I must indicate that the disciplinary process requires that the board itself must take the report, and then if further investigation is required, they need to do so, but prefer charges to the CEOs if there are charges that are required. So we have actioned the recommendations. What we may possibly then need to do is get the update and then provide update in terms of that action and consequence management of the part one of this commission, Chair.
Oh, thank you very much. I think Mr. Sidumedi has heard you. Will be giving us those documents. Those are the questions we have for the witness, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Siminya. I dare say, Mr. Sidumedi, there is no re-examination of your witness.
Certainly not, Chair. It's purely mine is to Mr. Abikit Siminya is just, when I thought I was just out, I said, no, then there's another task that I must do of undertaking that we will make a follow-up with the city to get an update on the implementation of part one.
Yes.
So that will then, any written form, then submit to the city.
Okay.
And second, Chair, with the permission, we'd like to admit Mr. Makola's statement as COJ 12.
It is so admitted.
COJ 12.
Yes.
That's all for us.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Chair. Thanks,
Sidumedi.
Commissioner Ben.
Mr. Makola, we thank you again for having availed yourself to give evidence before this commission. We thank you. You are now excused as a witness.
Thank you very much, Chair.
We
It's
know
a
you have
pleasure.
an important meeting to attend to.
Yes, Chair.
Yes.
It's
you are
things to deal
excused.
with. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Siminya?
Thank you, Chair. May I ask for a short stand down to 11:30? We have just received from SERI a statement affidavit of an engineer whose statement purports to address fire risk issues. We need an opportunity to read it, and if we come back at 11:30, we would be able to indicate our view regarding that document.
Yes. We are adjourned until 11:30. Mr. Semenya?
Chair, we have had a fleeting read of the statement of Andrew Craig, who is an engineer. The statement raises some complex issues, and we propose, because of that, on the reserved week of the 26th of May for closing argument, we accommodate to the extent necessary the evidence of Mr. Craig.
Mr. Craig?
Craig, G-R-E-I-G, who is a qualified engineer, so the statement tells us. After hearing that evidence with its attendant clarification questions, we'll then go into oral argument by all the parties for the remainder of that week. Between that time and now, what the city might want to do is to consider the contents of the statement. If they have issues they want to raise with it or a counter expert opinion, to attend to that before the 26th of May, just so that we can accommodate every opinion on the statement.
Yes.
But between now and the 26th of May, if, Chair, you are minded to give a directive about filing, as evidence leaders, we would file our written submissions on 25 April, well, obviously this year. The other parties would then file theirs, written submissions, that is, on 9 May 2025. And for whatever arises, if inclined to do so, the evidence leaders would have an opportunity to reply, to file their reply on 16 May. And as I earlier said, 26, going for the Friday of that week, would be dealing with the evidence of Mr. Craig as well as closing submissions, oral submissions by all the parties. Well, I call them parties, but all of us interested. If that is good with you, Chair, we request...
When is oral argument?
26, immediately following...
26, immediately following the evidence of Mr. Craig.
Correct, Chair.
Yes.
Yes. If that raises no objections with anybody and the directives read the way they do, this matter would stand adjourned until 26 May for closing, for Mr. Craig's evidence and closing argument by all the players.
Yes. What day is the 26th?
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Yes.
Can't oral argument be presented on the 27th?
In all likelihood, that is what will happen, Chair. If we spend the first day...
That would give the parties an opportunity to reflect on the evidence that would have been led by Mr. Craig.
Indeed, Chair.
Mr. Sidumedi?
Chair, we confirm that indeed the suggested directive, it is in order, Chair.
It's in order.
It is in order.
Yes. Ms. Dusabe?
Thank you, Chairperson. We confirm that we have no objection to the suggested
Thank you.
dates.
Yes. I direct that there shall be the filing of written submissions by the evidence leaders on the 25th of April, 2025, and the other parties shall then file their written submissions on the 9th of May. The evidence leaders will file their reply, if any, on the 16th of May, and on the 26th of May, 2025, we will then have the evidence of Mr. Craig on behalf of Seri, and on the 27th of May, we'll have oral argument.
And Chair, maybe if I may suggest that between now and the 26th of May, should the city be inclined to file documents in response, they should do so before that date.
Yes. Mr. Sidumedi? Between now and the 26th of May, I will obviously expect you to file documents in response to Mr. Craig's statement. Thanks.
That would be the business for the day, Chair.
Thank you. These proceedings are then postponed to the 26th of May.